you can expand on them, that would also be helpful. But again, good use of graphics and illustrations. Um, no, I'll leave it there for now. I'll leave it there for now. Good job, guys. Again, great work. Really looking forward to what you have to do. Oh, so we're one slight thing. I just watched the language. Do you think of of your audience? And I know you're well versed in your grade 11, 12, and your use of language is awesome. But think in terms of the audience that we would probably be bringing in, grade sevens and eights, for example. Just watch if we could, in a way, it's not that you're making it any lesser, it's just that you're making it so it's understandable and they can have buy into what you're saying. Is just keep that in mind, if and when possible, with your presentation.
I'll jump in next. Excellent visuals. Your poem was fantastic. I would suggest moving Sojourner Truth onto a separate slide, because you spend quite a bit of time talking, but you don't get to her until sort of near the end of that particular slide. Also, possibly posting a link to the poems or what you're reading. Michelle, your mic was very low. Maya, yours was staticky. And Ariel, yours was also quite low. So to please test that out in advance to make sure that it's good. And you might want to search for a video to talk about privilege, because you touch on it, but I didn't feel you went deep enough on explaining what it is. And we hear the term thrown around quite a bit, and I'm sure students would like sort of a better explanation of what it is.
Yeah, I echo the comments that Ms. Agard and Mr. Sutton has provided. And to add to that, yeah, great, very good work. One thing I would say for everyone is, when you're coming up next, so that, prepare yourself. So have your slides ready so you can go right in, just in terms of preparation. When you read the poem by Michael or Adrian Michael, or I think it was Adrian Michael, say who he is, a poet, whatever, just something to say who this person is. The segments on racist and being an anti-racist and speaking about dominant, about anti-race, being an anti-racist. Again, this is a section on allyship. So this is an invitation to really go back to the segment that you're in. So the segment on looking at feminism and its exclusion of Black women, looking at anti-racism, looking at, the intersectionality of being Black and being a member of the two-spirited GLBTQ communities. Really just tie it up, each person, in terms of how does it relate to allyship and what does that mean. And when you speak about privilege, again, in terms of the dominant versus majority narrative, that narrative is shifting. So listen for what the power dynamics is, because it's not always so that the dominant is also the majority, because we now have a situation where racialized persons are, either close to or surpassing in some of our communities the number of white members. So that is a shift that's occurring. So just watch the language around that, because there are many spaces. Like if you look at a case like South Africa, for example, when apartheid was going on, the white population was lower than the Black population, and still the power dynamics ensued. So just nuances like that to be very careful of. There are a couple of typos in a couple of these slides. One of them, for example, when they're speaking about gender identity, or speaking about oppression and identity can cause her harm or cause harm. There's some missing words there, so just to be mindful of that. And then the final thing that I will say is, because the other points I have were covered by by the other two educators, is to really be intentional about how this is giving, how this aligns with your theme. So, what is there in terms of resistance and resilience for you? And what is the clear vision that you're moving forward with given these particular experiences? So, just really be intentional with for every segment how that really connects to your theme. At the end of it, I forget who was speaking, there was a mention of it, but we kind of lost that throughout the whole presentation. So again, just be mindful of how you really want your key messages as it relates to the theme and keep coming back to that. With that, I'm complete.
Thank you for the feedback. That was noted.
Awesome, awesome. Really great job once again, and we'll reinforce your presentation by making sure we generate, either yourselves generate the questions, or while you are presenting, one of us will attempt to also generate questions for the chat so that participants might be able to respond. And then we'll have a way maybe for us to incorporate that in some part of what you all are doing through the day. Maybe that is the 30-minute gap, or between as one group gets prepared, the group that is just completing might make reference to a couple of comments from the chat about what you all were contributing. That might be a way for us to give the next group some preparation time and space, and that when you're complete responding to the chat, then the next group would just roll through and be up next. That might be a good separation between the parts and give people a little chance to shake off what happens next. I don't think we need to be afraid of gaps between, because we know we have a pretty big audience, and we want them to have a chance to let things settle into their mind and put their attention to the really amazing things that you all are all pointing out. Okay, awesome. Well,
and in terms of Ms. Cadet, and in terms of potential gaps, one of the things we'd be to keep in mind is that we have the chat. So in those areas where potentially there are gaps, we can then respond to questions that would then be presented during the session. So we've got a good robust agenda, and again, that's one area that we can use to fill in any gaps that may crop up.
Awesome. All right. Group 2, congratulations. Your first run through with us. Group 3, you're up.
So we have a quick, sorry, my brain's blanking, like a bridge between 2 and 3. So here we go. Thank you all. I appreciate the fact that you spoke on privilege, as it's something that people are usually uncomfortable to talk about when it comes to allyship in particular. To our student viewers, and honestly to everyone else who is watching, I hope that that workshop provided the tools that you need to speak up and advocate for the oppressed. We are not free here if others are not free elsewhere. End of story. Again, this idea of privilege takes us directly into our next workshop.
So, what is it like being Black? Do Black people have more obstacles in society that they have